going to start adding vegetables. My bell pepper first. Letting it stay nice and hot. You could have a vegetable ragu. No, ragu is a brown stew. Ragu is a brown stew. Stock made with meat, broth made with, stock made with bones, broth made with meat. Notice in the bottom of our pot, lots of brown little bits in there, right?
Yes.
Right, Sharia? Onion going in next.
Jeff, where would you get the top or two?
Any Asian supermarket. Go Washington Avenue, 11th and Washington, 6th and Washington. They'll sell them just like that in a bag like that. Couple hours.
Chili. How long do they keep it?
Keep it refrigerated, they'll last months easily. And this is yeah, I can feel it already.
How many did you put in?
I put 4. Not cut up. You know, if you cut them up, you're going to get a lot. You're going to get a lot more heat out of them. So I have my olives. I'm just going to have my olives. We're still on nice high heat here, making sure nothing is steaming. It's all browning.
Can you substitute
For the olives, you can leave them out.
No, like olives.
You're going to use all of them?
No. There are many, many different varieties of olives. Black, green, brown ones. Some in brine, oil cured. Okay. Now, I'm going to incorporate some tomato.
About to be a poop on a pot. No doubt.
Canned tomato. Plum. Again, I'm just going to break them up as I'm adding it in. I'll squirt you guys in the front row. So that juice is going to help the glaze. The acid is going to help tenderize a little bit. It's going to help brighten those flavors up. It's also going to help a little bit of caramelization in there, that tomato. Some of our juice. Maybe one more. So I put about, I don't know, 6 or 8 whole peel plum tomatoes in there. And now we're going to have some chicken stock. How much am I adding? So everything's covered, right? I'm going to use a rubber spatula. It's going to help me get all those brown bits off the bottom of the pot. Mix those around real good. And it's real nice and colorful. And add a little bit more, make sure we're covered. Okay. We're going to bring that up to a boil and turn it down to a simmer. Okay. Bring it up to a boil, turn it down to a simmer. And we want to maintain it at a simmer. Remember, it's long, slow, moist cooking. Okay.
Do most brown ragouts have tomato sauce or tomatoes?
I would say probably yes. You know, most the thing is like most like all brown stocks, we want to incorporate an acid into the stock, and tomato is a nice acid for brown stock because not only do we get the acid that we were looking for, but the color as well, right? So we would use in a white stock, we would use lemon or white wine, and in a brown stock, we're looking for tomato or red wine. So now we're going to start our blanquette.
You have to cover it.
Not yet. We may want to as it's cooking. And my chicken breast here. And these are airline chicken breasts, but without the skin on it for some reason. Just going to cut that wing off. And we can save those with their wings there. And again, with our blanquette, like any stew, what size do we want? Nice little bite size, right?
Chef, you cook for the football game, Chef? No?
I don't do football, man. Might watch it here and there, but cook for the baseball game. Okay. So our chicken is very, very wet. I just want to get it a little bit dry, right? Dry it off so we can get a good sear in, get some of that liquid off it. We're not looking to sear it to get color on it on our blanquette because it's a white stew. Okay, but I do want to dry it off a bit. Our ragu came up to a boil. I'm going to reduce it to a simmer. I'll wash my hands. Give this a good stir. Then we're going to cover it with some foil. And covering it is going to keep a lot of the moisture in. So we're not going to lose any, we're not going to have any evaporation from the start. Later on, we're going to want to uncover it so our sauce can thicken a little bit, so it reduces down a little bit. Right now, we want some of that liquid in there so our meat can cook, get tender. So we're going to leave that go for a little bit. Okay. I got a hot pot here. Adding some of my chicken stock. stick with that for right now. I'm gonna let that get real, nice and hot. Season my chicken, salt, and white pepper. It's a white stew, a little white pepper. Okay. Once my liquid has come close to a simmer, I'm adding my meat to it. Now with our blanquette here, our white stew, remember no browning, just simmering. We could, we're using some white root vegetable. You could forego the potato in this and serve it over white rice as well. So leave out the starch of the potato.
How would it end up being, chef, like over white rice? It would be like.
Well, you would steam the rice separately and then serve the blanquette over it. So it'd be basically, just like a stew, except it wouldn't have the potato in it. You'd have the vegetable and meat over the rice. Okay. So we got our meat in there. And we want to really keep an eye on our ragu here. I'm going to move it a little bit off the heat.
So the sun.
Yeah. And it's really going to be spicy. I'm going to sneeze. Okay. So I'm adding my harder, denser vegetable first.
Which one is good?
My rutabaga is going in first.
Is it an order to a hectare?
Pardon me?
Is it like an order to put them in?
Well, you want to go from harder to softer. So the ones that are going to take longer to cook, you want to put in first.
Table last.
Yeah, our potatoes going to be last. So we'll get our rutabaga in there. Maybe a little bit more. We only have 2 chicken breasts. There's some sesame seeds on our sheet tray here. For some reason. Give that a good stir. And one of my favorite blanquette is a veal blanquette. Very nice. We're just letting that come up to a simmer. We'll check on our ragu. Give it a good stir. And instead of whole tomatoes, you could use tomato paste in this. You get a little faster thickening that way because it's going to thicken up your liquid. Adding my turnips. Let that come up to a simmer. My onions going in.
Are these in the book, Chef?
Blanquette is in the book. This ragu isn't in the book. I made it up. This chicken isn't in the book. I made it up. Yeah. Okay. So our potato and mushroom, we're going to wait. We're going to hold off on those. You just give this a good stir, and we're going to let that go. And I'm not going to cover this. I want this stock to kind of reduce and thicken as we're going along, right? So at the end, we have some body to our blanquette. So we're going to let that reduce as it's tenderizing and cooking the meat. So we're going to let that evaporate away. This one, on the other hand, we want to let it, give it a little chance to cook before we let it evaporate away. This, remember, is getting our rice. So at the end, that rice is going to suck up any remaining liquid. We're not going to have a lot of liquid in the end of this. Okay? Last thing I want to do is check our chicken. And you know, this is nowhere near done yet. I'm just going to flip our pieces of meat over. Give our vegetables a little stir. We already see our apples breaking down, and that's fine. Later on, we're going to garnish with the little apples. We're going to caramelize the little apples separately as a little garnish. Okay? So right now, our apples are softening very nicely. Back in our oven. Okay. And giving our blanquette a little stir. I'm going to throw a little seasoning, a little bit of seasoning. Salt, pepper in. We seasoned our chicken already. Pinch of white pepper. Have a little dry thyme. A little dry thyme. That's going to go in now. Lunch isn't ready yet, Chef. No veal, no parsnip, sorry, I don't know.
À l'effet de consommer, I
saw.
don't want to use it. I don't think so, but.
Thank you. Okay, so we're cruising now. Potatoes and mushrooms we'll hold off on our blanquette. Our ragu is going. Our braised chicken is in the oven. Okay? Take a 15-minute break.